Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the spring season of Capital City Sports. I'm your host for this week, Dillon Clark, and we've got a lot of games to get to. We'll start things off with softball. The team took on Coastal Carolina this week, and Lawrence Thompson was at the game with the coverage.
Here at Beckham Field, for their midweek matchup, the Gamecock softball team defeated the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. The Gamecocks come into the matchup 11-2 and are currently ranked 13th in the country. Coastal Carolina also has a good start to the season, coming in with a record of 12-2. The Chanticleers came out swinging early with the solo home run to gain a 1-0 lead. They would then hit an RBI triple in the second to add to the lead, making it 2-0. Carly Heath would settle into the game and not allow any more runs. The Gamecocks hit a double off the left field wall to start the third inning, followed by an error by the second baseman to move the runners to first and third with no outs. After the next batter flew out in the infield, Kayla Girotar comes up with the plate and would blast a home run to the left field to regain the lead. After a walk and a bunt, Kenzie McGuire hits a 3-run homer over the right field. It would be a 6-2 Gamecocks. Later in the inning, 2 sacrifice fly balls to left center field would bring another run, making the score 7-2, forcing a pitching change. The Coastal pitcher, Beasley Bolko, would finish 3 innings pitched, allowing 7 runs. The closer for the Gamecocks, Kayla Jotar, would also come in as well and try to record the save. She struggled early, giving up a solo home run and then an RBI single to make it 7-4. We will move to the top of the 7th, bases loaded, 2 outs, with a chance for Coastal to get some more runs on the board and keep their comeback hopes alive. But the batter grounds out to the shortstop to end the game with the final score of 7-4. The Gamecocks will improve to 12-2 on the season and will now look towards their next slate of games this weekend in Florida for the USF tournament. For Capital City Sports, I'm Lawrence Thompson.
Thanks, Lawrence. Moving on to baseball now. The baseball team opens up a 3-game series against Clemson this weekend on the road in Clemson. Emma Milner was at Doug Kingsmore Stadium to bring us the highlights.
Thanks, Dylan. The game started late, but South Carolina got started early. Their bats came to life in the second inning, which would be all they need to clinch a 5-4 victory over the Clemson Tigers. South Carolina's Friday night guy, Carmen Ledzinski, had a strong showing on the mound. The sophomore only gave up 2 runs to the Tigers before leaving the game with an apparent leg injury. The game would be decided in the second inning as sophomore Andrew Eister tied it up with a 2-run home run, and then senior TJ Hopkins would secure the win with this 3-run homer. Clemson senior Grayson Bird tried to keep the Tigers in the game, but it was not enough. South Carolina takes Game 1 of the Palmetto Series 5-4. The Gamecocks will look to lock up the series at Fluor Field in Greenville. For Capital City Sports, I'm Emma Milner. Back to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Emma. And wrapping up the series on Sunday, the Gamecocks bring it back home to take on Clemson at Founders Park. Holly Coldell was there to bring us that game.
Thanks, Dylan. Carolina's 14-3 victory was thanks to their explosive offense. Carolina capitalized on Clemson's weak defense to secure the series. Today's game was performed for a sold-out crowd, and Clemson showed off in the first with an RBI double from Kyle Wilkie. In the bottom of the first, a TJ Hopkins double combined with a Luke Berryhill home run allowed Carolina to take an early 5-1 lead. Clemson called to the bullpen for the first of 5 times, making it so pitcher Justin Robalski did not even finish the first inning. Reed Morgan struck out the side in the top of the second, which was his first of 5 strikeouts for today's game. Jacob Olsen brought Hopkins home in the bottom of the second, bringing the lead up to 6-1 Gamecocks. In the bottom of the fourth, Carolina dominated with Noah Campbell coming home from second. Hopkins had a 2-run homer, and Berryhill scored his second home run of the game, bringing the Gamecocks' lead to 11-1. Clemson tried to close the lead in the top of the sixth with Logan Davidson's solo home run and Michael Green's RBI single, but it was not enough. Carolina scored 3 more times with the help of Clemson's weak defense. The final score was 14-3 Gamecocks. As always, MVPs were announced at the end of the series, in which Hopkins earned the Tom Price Award for the second time in his career.
South Carolina will be hosting the Citadel at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. For Capital City Sports, I'm Holly Caldell. Back to you, Dillon.
Thanks, Holly. To wrap up the weekend, women's basketball took on Mississippi State at home. The SEC regular season championship was on the line, and Tom Santinello brings us that coverage from Colonial Life Arena. Tom?
Thanks, Dylan. The Gamecocks are gearing up for another postseason run. However, they'll enter tournament play with a bitter taste in their mouth after falling to number 5 Mississippi State 68-64. Colonial Life Arena was packed to near capacity with a share of the SEC regular season championship on the line. Mississippi State held an early lead, but the Gamecocks fed off the energy of their fans and finished the first quarter on a 10-0 run to take the lead. Mississippi State relied on great guard play from Jordan Danbury to keep pace, but the Gamecocks got solid post play on both ends of the court to race out to a 7-point halftime lead. MSU coach Vic Schaefer got a tech early in the second half, and it galvanized his squad. The Bulldogs outscored South Carolina 19-8 in the third behind a dominant performance from Tierra McCowan, who finished with 18 points and 17 rebounds. Trailing by as many as 11, the Gamecocks put together a furious rally behind Taisha Harris, who scored a game-high 20 points. MSU struggled from the line late, but USC could not grab a rebound to give them a chance to complete the comeback and fell by 4 points. With tournament play kicking off Friday in Greenville, South Carolina will have a few days to recover from this tough loss before going after their 5th straight SEC tournament championship. For Capital City Sports, I'm Tom Santinello. Back to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Tom. That'll wrap things up for this week's episode of Capital City Sports. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CCS on SGTV for all your Gamecock sports updates. And tune in next week as we bring you a whole new round of sports. For Capital City Sports, I'm Dillon Clark. Thanks for joining us.